Hello and welcome to the agenda on Politics Social with me, Graham Hughes, and Phil Moorhouse. How you doing, Phil? You all
Hello.
right?
Yes.
Are
Trying
you
to find your channel again.
a bit discombobulated because we're Monday instead of?
No, because I can't find. You keep changing the name of your
Oh,
channel. I've got
it's
to find
just
it. Right, I've got it again.
it's Hughes
Right.
of the World. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's not Politics Social anymore, although it says Politics Social all over this this episode because I haven't set it up properly yet for the new ident. Ident, is that what it's called? I don't know.
I guess in some corporate circles they would call it that. Yeah.
Hello, Phil Moorhouse. Hello, everyone in the chat. We have Diz in the chat. We've got Elle. We've got Harushi. We've got One Angry Pagan and Jane Lockwood, Jenny Robinson. So Sphere Lance as well. So I'm glad that some people got the message that we were doing a show today. And the reason why, my reasoning, which I think is pretty good. It's called the agenda. So we need to really talk about what's on the agenda for the week. Do you know what I mean? In Parliament.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking. And then, instead of it being a roundup, we can do that on the Sunday night social now. Because I've moved the Friday night social to Sunday.
Yeah.
So I'm dicking around with it, Phil.
Yeah.
See what works. But yeah, so I was hoping to find out what time Keir Starmer was going to be making his statement today in Parliament with regard to the Mandelson affair. But unfortunately, nowhere seems to know when he's going to actually make this statement. If you type it into Google, what time is Starmer going to make his statements? It just comes up with here's a list of. It won't tell you. It'll just give you a list of websites, and if you go on one of them, it'll tell you. It'll be sometime.
Well, that's because it depends on other things. Like we know it's going to be after 2:30 because 2:30 is education questions.
Yeah.
Then Starmer makes his statement after those. Those are finished, they'll probably be like half an hour or something.
Okay. So the question is, right, considering everything that's happened, can Labour stop the rot? Are we just watching a slow motion car crash here?
Ultimately, like this Mandelson thing would ordinarily be a nothing burger. There's been a huge cock up at a technical level, but it's just nothing. It's the fact that he's lost the trust of the public. So like he's going to go to Parliament and say, oh, I was told this thing and it was wrong. And I actually massively believe it because he like everyone who would have known that he failed his vetting.
It would be very
everyone who
stupid of
knew.
him.
Well, no, it wasn't. He was he didn't know. He
That's
thought
what I'm saying. If he did know, it would be very stupid of him to say
Oh, yeah,
in front of Parliament he didn't know.
Well, he said it in front of MPs as well, but in front of journalists as well. He was really clear the vetting was passed. He did, like everyone else was really cute about it. The vetting was done. Everyone else said the vetting was done and all the procedures were followed, which is true. No one else, he was the only one who said the vetting cleared him.
Right.
So that is pretty, especially, I mean, you could, like, no politician would tell a lie like that. They'll use cute language to try and hide it, like literally everyone else did that knew. And you could try and say, well, he's not a very good politician, Phil. It's not, no, but he is a very good lawyer. And this is one thing where there's a huge crossover between law and politics. Like, as a defense barrister, he will have been advising his clients on how to say things in such a way that are true, so you don't get done for perjury if you get caught out, but nonetheless deflect. And as a prosecutor, he will have known how to break through those sort of questions. So as a top lawyer, there's no way he would have there was no way he would have said the vetting was cleared Mandelson unless he believed it. So someone's told him that. And when he's raised it, because people were suspicious, he's been lied. So he has been lied to. But if you're a member of the public, you're not thinking of that. You're just thinking, oh yeah, Keir Starmer, this guy I don't trust, reckons that he's got caught out again and he reckons he was lied to. I don't believe it. And that's because he's lost the trust of the public. This is all this is about.
Yes. But also, I mean, yeah, you're right about it looking bad if he, I don't think a lawyer would make that mistake. But
no, they won't.
He did make a mistake because he's not a politician. He's not a very good politician in, being a bit too clear. Like you said, everyone else is saying...
the bottom line is he trusted McSweeney far too much, and McSweeney's gone and he's still suffering from it. But again, you could liken that. That's a parallel with the winter fuel policy. The winter fuel policy effectively has got, if they'd have implemented it, they shouldn't have just done anything with it. But if they'd have implemented it as it now exists, there wouldn't have been a problem, would there? There wouldn't have been a problem.
No.
And it's the
If it
same
had gone in
thing.
at 35,000.
But they are still suffering from it. I still hear in like people saying, in whether focus groups or vox pops or something, they still blame him for the winter fuel thing, even though it's like it's not a thing now.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Well, it's like ULEZ not really affecting anyone, and they still complain about it. Some people still complain about it, and it's like, but it doesn't affect you or anyone. You know, when it came in, they expanded ULEZ.
But this is it. It's once people have got an idea into their heads, that it's quite hard to shift it. And I was saying, like stream earlier, like if I was to think about this strategically, so Starmer, the reason he lost trust of the public is because the public thought they kicked the Tories out because they'd made their standard of living so bad. Labour were going to improve it. They didn't necessarily expect bangs and whistles. Labour certainly didn't promise fireworks, but they expected it to progress, to get better. Now, their perception is that it's gotten worse, right? And the only way to change that, because what Labour are naturally doing is they're not going to turn it around with what they're doing, I don't think, because that feeling's so entrenched. So he's got to do something massive on the cost of living, absolutely massive. But he's not. He might not even be able to. It might actually be physically impossible. But I see no sign of it. And yeah.
Before we go on, Goose Springsteen has been in with 2 super chats. Thank you very much. The first one is for £5. On Mandelson, we know now there was little reason to replace Karen Pierce, the former ambassador to America.
Oh yeah.
Why was it so important? Unless it was a favour from McSweeney to his mentor. Good point. And then we've got Goose again. And the £10 super chat is even more generous. Thank you. As I've ranted on Phil's live streams, if no politician knew about the security vetting failure, doesn't it prove that Dominic Cummings had a point about the civil service being a law unto themselves?
Well, unfortunately, yes. Maybe. But it's like...
Stop clock.
I mean, there is an element of this. I mean, we know anyone who's watched Yes Minister, or Yes Prime Minister. This is exactly a Humphrey Appleby thing. And I will just point out for people who think that was a comedy. It was considered by civil servants and politicians alike to have been very true to life.
Yeah. And it wasn't it written by an insider? It didn't come out until years later. It was someone actually in the Thatcher government who was
it was in I thought it was someone in Wilson's government.
In Wilson's government.
I think it was Harold Wilson's government.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. London Cheesehead says, I'm sorry, Keir is a weak leader and needs to go now. And I think that is a growing consensus.
That's clear. Yes, it is. It doesn't matter whether people think it's fair or not. That is the perception.
The reason why I don't think he's going to go, no matter what, and I might be wrong, but I think it's because there's no one to replace him. There's literally no one waiting in the wings.
There's no one safe to replace him.
Yeah.
But then that works out for Andy Burnham because he could be considered a safe replacement.
Yes, but in 2 years' time.
Or maybe sooner. They think sooner. I was just talking about this in my stream earlier. Burnham's allies are pointing to the NEC elections this year. Now, if remember, there's 2 things that stopped him from being able to stand for the Gorton and Denton by-election. The first is the argument, which had validity, that if he'd have stood and won, he'd have had to resign as mayor, and then that would have triggered a mayoral contest, which would have cost an absolute fortune for Labour to contest while they're already stretched. And it's not like the elections this year. I mean, we've got Welsh elections, Scottish elections, and local elections, and they're all looking to be going very badly against Labour. So they need every penny for that. They wouldn't have thanked him for an extra £500,000 needed to contest his seat. That was a valid excuse. That excuse is out the window after May. So if he goes for a by-election, say this autumn, that argument cannot hold. So then there's the second aspect to it, which is that ultimately it was probably Starmer loyalists on the NEC that just would have blocked him for any reason. But if the elections result in, rather than having the NEC filled with people who are pro the Labour leader, are of the view that the leader needs to go, then that opens the way for Burnham to arrange another by-election and come back.
Yeah.
Of course, it'll be a massive cock-up if the same thing happens. But nonetheless, that is what they're looking at the moment.
I think they should just. I think they just because there's a lot of unpopular decisions that Labour, actions that Labour are going to have to take over the next few years. And just let Starmer take all the flack for it, and then just cast him out into the
wilderness. But the problem is, the problem is they've already let the genie out of the bottle. Like I was saying earlier, like if you look at the polls, Reform UK and the Green Party have both been allowed to literally double their vote share since the 2024 election. Yeah. That is not going to be easy to roll back. If you allow that to become entrenched over the next few years, it could be impossible.
Yeah, that's a point. Anatolia, sorry, Anna, Anatoly.
Just say Anna.
No, Anatoly. Says this is as bad as Boris Johnson's Chris Pincher scandal.
It's absolutely
Starmer
not.
Needs to go.
It's not. Like I'll ask you this. You'd say this in the chat, right? The Chris Pincher scandal was you put a sex offender in. Boris Johnson was asking Conservative MPs who were being sexually harassed to report it to a known sex pest, right? That was serious. What's the issue with Mandelson? And from a practical point of view, what's the issue? There is no issue. He was mates with Epstein. Now, the issue that arose we didn't know that. We didn't know that. He didn't sell it, he gave it. But no one knew that at the time. No one. That didn't come up in the vetting. No one knew. That came out with the Epstein file. So we only found that out at the start of the year. So no one knew about that.
So he was mates with
Mandelson himself,
financier, and he was asked questions about it. And as far as Starmer was concerned,
but in terms of
a lack of curiosity, don't you think, Phil? Like
maybe, but the practical outcome was what harm was Mandelson even at risk of doing? Now, okay, now we know because he gives information to foreign powers. Yeah, that's a big no-no. But if given that no one knew about that, well, Americans knew about it, didn't tell us. Given that nobody knew about that, least of all Starmer, even Olly Robbins wouldn't have known about that, I'm sure. What was the actual risk? Like, there must have been some risk because the vetting came up with some red flags that Olly Robbins decided weren't relevant.
But Olly Robbins is talking about taking the government to court over his sacking. So he's coming into select committee tomorrow, isn't he? And that's going to be interesting because if he decides to go postal on them, I mean, they're in a bit of trouble because if it becomes a he said, she said situation.
It doesn't, but the question is, why did Olly Robbins because it doesn't make sense to me for a civil servant to want a political appointment. You'd think it'd make much more sense. Olly Robbins he's had a bit of a checkered history himself, granted, but still, I don't get it. The suggestion could be he was leaned on by McSweeney? Like I was saying last week on my stream, like I wasn't even sure that McSweeney knew about it because, again, why would he allow Starmer to tell MPs and journalists that the vetting cleared him? Because that's a no shit moment. You wouldn't let him. But at the same time, what if he didn't intend it? What if Starmer just said it and at that point McSweeney went, oh fuck. So what if McSweeney did know and he was concealing it from Starmer and he's the one who leaned on Robbins? At which point this all becomes really very, very much messier.
Yeah. We got a £2 super chat.
Anatoly just saying, sorry, I'm just saying that Phil Mandelson is a sex pest. No, he's not. He's never been accused of anything like that.
Yeah.
You can't just make things up about people because it suits an agenda. Sorry, pun intended.
He is a scumbag. Let's be clear.
He is a scumbag. But he's not. We don't have any evidence he's a sex pest at all. It's not even we don't know.
Chris Pincher, that they knew that he was problematic. There've been numerous complaints about it.
That was known.
Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Yes, Minster was Lady Falklander.
Faulkner.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she was. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think she was a Harold Wilson advisor.
Goose Springsteen, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. Can Phil talk about the David Maddox WhatsApp to Tim Allen in September 25? So Maddox stated 2 sources told him Mandelson failed security vetting.
So what that
Allen
was?
Check where this came from.
God Almighty! Right. So what that was? I looked at that. Yeah, I was going to mention that, and Saturday and Goose forgot to tell me.
Well, tell me a bit more about this because I've not even heard.
So what happened was David Maddox, who's a political editor for The Independent, So he comes up with a WhatsApp he sent to, at the time, the director of Keir Starmer's director of communications last September, saying, "I've heard from 2 sources that Mandelson didn't pass his vetting." And the response to him from the then director of communications, Tim Allen, was the vetting has been carried out by FCDO, right? Now, 2 things about that. First of all, it's not a smoking gun. All it says is that David Maddox had heard that Mandelson hadn't been cleared. He wasn't told by anyone that he had been cleared. The response that came back to him was a FCDO. That's the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, like the Foreign Office, as we would say. So that's all he said. I will also point out that Tim Allen, although he was Director of Communications at the time, he'd literally only just been made Director of Communications. So he himself is unlikely to have known. He will have gone to McSweeney, presumably, and said, "I've just been sent this thing." And he'll have said to him, "Just tell him FCDO have done it." So that's not a smoking gun. That WhatsApp means nothing. All that WhatsApp means is that David Maddox had heard that Mandelson hadn't cleared his vetting. It doesn't say that Maddox was told by Starmer. I mean, Starmer said in February that he'd cleared it because he was told. Nothing in that WhatsApp is even a hint that Starmer did know he'd failed it. There's nothing in it. That's just Maddox saying that he'd been told that. So someone had told him that Mandelson had failed, and he asked the question, but he didn't get an answer to it.
Well, who, you know, like, I know they protect the sources, but we really do need to know who said
we know
that.
we don't protect the sources. We know it's Tim Allen, but Tim Allen wouldn't have known.
No, David Maddox, who because he heard from 2 sources. Who were those sources? Because they obviously knew that he did fail the vetting.
These are presumably civil servants.
Civil servants who knew more than the Prime Minister on this, apparently.
More than any minister. Remember, David Lammy wasn't told either. I mean, this is all looking really weird. I don't know what's happened. I absolutely believe I don't think David Lammy would have dropped Starmer in it either. I don't think Lammy would have known and kept it from Starmer. I 100%, not even 99.9%, I'm 100% going to say an experienced lawyer would not have been so unequivocal as to say that the vetting cleared Mandelson if it didn't.
Shitbag. I have to agree with that.
Either way, it doesn't matter. He'd only just started the job. So how would he, like, he will have known what people will have told him.
He's been fired.
They've all been fired.
So develop vetting. When you ask, like, well, you know, why didn't he get this clearance? Because it's the highest level, isn't it, of UK security clearance, and it involves finances, relationships, vulnerabilities, blackmail risk, right? So when we ask why he failed, I think that's quite interesting to get into, because if the develop vetting found out that there is a chance that a foreign adversary could get the dirt on him and then get him. But this is the thing. If someone else knew about his relationship with Epstein, now think about this for a moment. The American government have had access to those files for ages. They've known that that was in there.
They're not necessarily now. Someone in America knew it was in there, not necessarily the government. Okay. But the red flags. What I'm going to say is, I don't know why Olly Robbins decided to disregard it. I strongly suspect under pressure from someone else, like McSweeney. But what I'm going to say is this: I still don't believe that someone who can rise to the rank of permanent secretary, I don't believe that they would disregard vetting if the red flags were, like, relevant. So I don't think he would have been considered a national security risk. The red flags needn't be for anything like that.
But we don't
know what they were. We don't know what they were. They're not. But what I would say is, I would doubt very much whether any permanent secretary would have disregarded them if it was a national security risk. You wouldn't. Would you? No one would do that.
Yeah. One angry pagan saying sabotage by Blue Labour.
I don't know.
But Blue Labour, like Starmer, I mean, they wanted him in power. I mean, they pushed.
They just saw that they could use him. Yeah, they saw that they could use him. But I mean, you know, it's been a massive mistake. It's been a massive mistake promoting McSweeney from a campaign organizer to a political advisor, and it's been a massive mistake to allow Blue Labour the inside track on some key, not all, because they are being ignored on things like energy, but they've been given the inside track on a lot of social policy.
Yeah,
it's a huge mistake.
Yeah. Oh, we got some news from the IMF apparently. Did you hear about this? Britain's regained its position as the 5th biggest economy in the world.
Irrelevant,
yeah,
isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's still based on GDP, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this is what they did. There was a really great little thing that was going around social media last week, and it was if Britain was an American state, where would it rank out of the 50 other states in terms of ... And it was like life expectancy number 1, child mortality, lack of child mortality number 1. It was like all the things, all the factors of like leading a decent life, you know, the wages and things like that. It was like number 1.
Well, yeah, but American wages haven't gone up in like a generation.
When it comes to GDP per capita, we were 51st. But the problem is with GDP per capita, you could have a village in which literally no one has anything. They just eat dust. And there's one billionaire who lives there.
Exactly.
And apparently everyone in that village is a billionaire, according to GDP per capita.
Yeah, that's the problem with it, is GDP, like GDP and GDP per capita are sensible economic metrics for certain things. But it's what you really need more discussion of is things like median incomes and stuff like that. That's what you need. You need, you know, because as you say, it's like it's a mean GDP per capita is a mean average, not a median.
Yeah,
it's just it's the money that the country is generating divided by all the people in it. But a lot of that money is not even staying in the country, apart from anything else.
Well, apparently India's had a bit of a knock in its economy, so we've gone ahead.
Yeah, but again, that's why we've gone ahead. We haven't. It's because India's had a harder time than we have.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're catching up on Japan here. Germany have overtaken Japan, which isn't a surprise because the Japanese economy has hardly grown since the 90s.
But also the Southeast Asia, like when we talk about we're paying higher price for gas and oil, not because we get it from the Middle East, but because the places we do get it from, largely Norway, are it's an online auction, an international auction. But where the oil and gas from the Middle East mostly goes to is Southeast Asia, including Japan.
Yeah.
So they're struggling.
Yeah. Goose Springsteen, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. I've seen it reported that it was Mandelson's links to China through Global Council and to Russia through a Russian defense company, called Sistema, that I believe Mandy sat on the board of until June 2017.
He's been on a lot of boards. This is the problem now. We're going to be looking at some of the companies that are getting public contracts now, and now we're going to be wondering which ones got them because of Mandelson's interventions.
Yeah.
And should they? I mean, some of them maybe would still be perfectly valid, but that opens up a whole new can of worms, doesn't it now?
Yeah. Oh, there's a can of... Every time they open up a can of worms, inside there's another can of worms.
Yeah.
It's like a Russian doll, a can of worms. But yeah, this is... It would be absolutely insane if it turns out that the one world leader who actually gets toppled by the Epstein documents being made public, or at least a lot of them being made public, is Keir Starmer.
The straight-laced lawyer.
Nothing to do with it.
But also, more than that, the straight-laced lawyer who actually does believe in following rules.
Yeah.
Who hasn't actually broken rules.
Miss Paula Thomas says a Lady Falklander was Harold Wilson's Morgan McSweeney, but she was much better at the job.
She was way better at the job.
And thank you very much, Miss Paula Thomas, because that allows us to release the confetti cannon. 3, 2, 1, confetti! There you go. That's the use confetti here on the agenda. And I still need to... I've got to update the graphics. Okay, so there's the confetti. Thank you very much for everyone who's chipped in towards our confetti goal. This is happy now, which is good. I mean, is there anything else going on this week? We seem to be having elections in a couple of weeks' time in May. And at the moment, have you seen any of these BBC the articles that have just been kind of like printing out what you would expect to get as a press release from Refuck? They did three articles last week about asylum seekers claiming to be things they weren't in order to claim asylum. They had one about net zero being bollocks. So really great timing for that, because
that is bollocks. Because in fact, Labour are going to be pushing that tomorrow.
Yes.
Ed Miliband's pushing
Ed Miliband's
tomorrow.
pushing it tomorrow, which you should talk about. And also they did a hit piece on the Sussexes, right? Harry and Meghan, saying they went to Australia, Phil, and not many people turned out to see them. And then if you read into the article about the 5th paragraph down, it does admit that they didn't make their schedule public, which might explain why. And then they went up to someone in Sydney and said, "What do you think about this?" And they went, "I think it's shit."
Yeah, they must be using the same AI writers that the Daily Express are using these days.
But isn't there a rule against like the media, especially the BBC?
Should be against the BBC,
bringing up talking points that that Refuck are going to benefit from.
The thing is, it is very dodgy because, like, you think about the news story on like that asylum seeker stuff like that, and you think to yourself, okay, there's definitely a public interest angle there, but the timing's suspicious because it's not. Oh, there's this major thing that we only just found out about. It's like, mate, there's been stories on this going back years. So it's like, why have you chosen to do it during Purdah? That's the question. It's even like, even the Mandelson stuff, right, that the Guardian have gone in. Absolutely, there's a public interest. I'm not saying they shouldn't report on it. Was it right to do it during an election campaign? That's what I would say. Did they, was it necessary to do it at this point? You could argue yes. If I was going to say an argument for yes, if I had to debate yes, I would say because it means the Prime Minister has misled Parliament and he should correct the record as soon as possible. Yeah. So you could argue from that point of view. But by and large, when you've got stories that are not breaking news, it's about things that, could be reported at any time, and it just so happens to be reported during an election campaign, you do start to wonder if it's because the media benefit from instability in politics because it makes for more exciting stories. Yeah.
But I mean, this Mandelson inquiry, this would have been going on anyway. So I'm a little bit, and I do think that the government should have got ahead of this because they found out. They found out on Tuesday last week, and it was only reported in the afternoon on Thursday by the Guardian. It wasn't the government who set out a press release and said, "Hey, listen, we've got information about," and that's a mistake. Again, shows Starmer's lack of political nous. But what the question I've got is, we're supposed to believe, that nobody knew. Well, the Prime Minister didn't know. The Home Secretary, the Foreign Secretary didn't know about Mandelson failing the vetting here. So, I mean, if it's a bit of hypothetical, but if Olly Robbins stands up tomorrow or sits down tomorrow in the select committee, and he says that he told Morgan McSweeney all this, what happens to Morgan McSweeney? I mean, he's not in the job anymore. He can't be fired again. Criminal proceedings.
There's no suggestion this is criminal at all. In fact, not even any rules have been broken. Right. It's a case of, did Olly Robbins, it's one of I remember this from a Yes minister. Is there a distinction between just not telling your minister because Olly Robbins had the authority to take this decision himself, or did he deliberately mislead? Like, in other words, did David Lammy ask him, or did Keir Starmer ask his officials? I've heard that he didn't. Did he definitely pass? Like, who's lied and who's just withheld information?
I'm just looking up the dates for Purdah.
Oh, we're already into Purdah.
This is interesting though. It's the 26th of March.
That's for Scotland.
For Scotland. The 8th of April for Wales. But for local elections in England, it was the 16th of April.
Local elections aren't taken as seriously.
But what date was it on Thursday last week? It was the 16th. It was like the
Yeah.
last, either the day it
But it
came
began
in or-
on 16th. The
Oh,
Purdah was
yeah,
on 16th.
yeah.
Was Purdah.
Wow. Sean's saying that Keir would have made a good Scandi leader. Yeah. So yeah. The guidance is general principle. Oh, this is about civil servants, ministers, local government, referendums. No, it doesn't say anything about the press.
No, it doesn't. No, the journalists can do what I would just say that really, just from a responsibility point of view, if you like, I think the Guardian have been okay because you could argue that because it involves the Prime Minister, albeit inadvertently misleading Parliament, public interest. But I would say the BBC thing on the asylum stuff, that's old news. Okay, it's current news as well. Sure, there's no problem with reporting on it, but the timing.
Yeah.
Because apart from anything else, that the government can't do much. I mean, Shabana Mahmood obviously came out saying she would, because the story was not about asylum seekers, by the way, it was about lawyers, dodgy lawyers, right?
Yeah.
But, she came out and say she would absolutely crack down on any lawyers. This is all she can say. They can't announce a new policy because Purdah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
They're
I mean,
not allowed to announce new policies.
Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. So today with this statement, I do think it's going to be a little bit, maybe not woolly is not the right word, but it's not going to, I don't think it's going to share light. I don't think it's going to be particularly jaw dropping.
The thing is,
but go on.
They'd already decided that there was clear, before he even knew that the vetting had failed, he knew it was very obvious that there was something fundamentally wrong with the appointments process. And he started months ago on working on improving it and changing it. But the thing is, Labour, so there is a sense in which they've messed up, but they are actually like fixing the roof. And they've done it on a few things. Like they also messed up on granting extensions to a load of the local elections. And then suddenly their lawyers have said, oh, this might not actually be legal. So now they're changing the rules on that, and they're actually taking the power away from the government. So they are doing a lot to like close loopholes on dodgy government decisions. But they don't get the credit for that. They only get the blame for the fact that, I mean, they did it was their mess. It was their mess.
Yes.
That they allowed
They
extensions.
keep doing this, Phil.
They do keep doing it.
They keep fucking up.
And they can't complain about it. But they are also taking steps to make sure that the same thing couldn't happen again. Whereas a Conservative government just go, oh, sorry, lessons learned. And then they do the same thing the next year.
Yeah. But it does, in this particular instance, it does seem crazy that the system is in place that led to the Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary and Downing Street in general and senior ministers not knowing that this guy had failed the what's it called, the extreme vetting.
I mean, at the very least, you would definitely need to say that if something like that happens, the Prime Minister, or at least the Minister of the Prime Minister as well, for something like this, an ambassador, must be told. Like, it's like, you can disregard the vetting, sure, if you think that the red flags are not relevant, absolutely. But there must be something that says, but you must tell the government.
Yeah.
The Foreign Secretary should have been told and the Prime Minister should have been told.
Yeah.
But there were still mistakes made, even without hindsight. They should never have announced.
Because never have made him bloody ambassador.
Well, you're going to say that anyway. But the point is,
of course I am. He's a fucking nightmare.
The point is, like Starmer, like Lammy is saying, for example, Starmer wouldn't have appointed him if he'd failed the vetting, but he already announced him before the vetting had taken place. So that is also going to look like a 2020 vision in hindsight answer, isn't it? Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, I totally wouldn't have appointed him if I'd have known he'd failed vetting. It's like, so why did you appoint him when you knew the vetting hadn't even finished? Yeah. Even if you were told wrongly, falsely, that the vetting cleared him, you knew at the point at which you announced him to the world the vetting hadn't actually taken place at that time. Which does suggest that you didn't yourself put much, you didn't put much emphasis on the importance of the vetting process.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's an absolute shit show.
Yeah. But then again, you know, the Tories can't really talk about this because they'll just pinch her. But
They
also,
will.
Boris
They will.
Johnson, you can say, well, you know, Mandelson was sacked from the Labour cabinet. And Johnson was sacked from the Tory shadow cabinet around the same time, you know, and they didn't make him ambassador to America. They made him the leader of the party. They made him the prime minister, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Someone who was known to have very dodgy links with foreign powers, because they knew that he was giving secrets to foreign powers.
And the other one is Lord Lebedev. Lord Lebedev, he failed. Famously, he failed his vetting. Yes. And they put him in the House of Lords as a legislator for life.
Well, he didn't just fail the vetting. He failed. The appointments committee said no. And then Johnson said, change that no to a yes. And they did. But the appointments committee they weren't even willing to ignore the red flags in that case.
Yeah.
Until Johnson rammed it through.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but this is, I mean, it's a low bar that the Tories have given us. And it's a bit shit that Labour can't even fucking clear it by the looks of things at the moment. It's like they keep tripping over the very, very, very low bar. And it's like you scream out, pick up your feet! Pick up your... And Frank said he was told not to announce before vetting took place. And Sean is saying this is great. It's like watching a baby grow. We wanted a fully grown adult.
He's not growing. He's not improving. He's not getting any better.
Oh my god.
He's messing up.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. We were expecting something better than this. Really. Come on. Like across the board. I know Labour have been trying to do some good stuff, but they seem to be doing good stuff in spite of themselves.
I didn't anticipate this level of clown-like behaviour.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So, the PMQs this week should be interesting.
Is it even on? I don't think when is it going into recess? When is it?
There's been in recess.
Yeah, I know, but then you've.
What for the elections?
It's. I suppose they. Yeah. Okay. So it is on this week.
Well, I mean,
yes, we just had Easter. Sorry, I completely forgot about it. I don't have holidays. You see.
You don't have holidays.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm not. Don't mind.
I think you need to have words with your boss.
No. Boss told me to get back to work, you lazy bastard. Yes.
No, it should be
all PMQs will be from bad knocks. He'll just be banging on this, and he'll just say, "Do you know what am I supposed to do?" Right.
Yeah.
It'll be a waste of time. It'll be maybe some of the other questions will be more interesting.
Yeah.
In fact, Starmer should fire back about Boris Johnson and Chris Pincher.
Well, yeah, but it's going to hinge on what Olly Robbins says tomorrow, and apparently he's really pissed off. He's like really.
He will be if he was told to make that decision. If it wasn't really his decision, I'm sure he would be. He'd be right to be pissed off.
Yeah, yeah.
At the same time, it's highly unusual for senior civil servants, even those falling on their sword for someone else, to really make a big issue of it.
Yeah.
Because again, they've got to think about their future. It's a bit like being a whistleblower. One of the problems of being a whistleblower is then future employers might not be all that keen on you. Well, the same thing applies to civil servants.
Well, you mentioned earlier about Ed Miliband, who's going now, double speed for net zero because it is quite clearly identified as the way to get down energy bills in the long term.
Yeah.
In fact, in the short term, because something that might happen this week as well, and we've had murmurs towards this, Rachel Reeves, apparently, according to the press, is looking seriously at decoupling gas from the rest of the energy mix. So what I want to talk about for a moment is why haven't they done this already?
Because we still need gas. So what happens is the process of how energy prices work. So you need electricity in the day. So you first of all take it, because it's all based on cost. So you take it from the cheapest sources. So that's like solar and wind, which we need to emphasize for any reformers out there. Solar and wind is the cheapest, so you get that first, but that won't supply. On some days, that supplies all the energy you need, and there are some days where, do you know what? All of our electricity comes from renewable sources, and we pay a low price for it. But then there are other days where that's not enough, particularly in winter when you're using more electricity and not as much from solar in particular. So once you've done that, then you go to, and it's just like going to, so you get the cheapest electricity first, then you get your next cheapest and next, and eventually you need gas. So although we're using less and we're going to gas less and less, we are still needing a fair amount of electricity from gas. And because you can't just like, you can't send someone a bill according to when they use their electricity or anything like that. It's like we have this cap in place for domestic prices. So you have to work out a cost of electricity that is based on the most expensive way of producing it, because otherwise you're telling gas power stations to provide electricity for the grid at a loss, which they're not going to do because they're private companies. So you have to make sure that the price it compensates the most expensive form, which means, of course, that if you're producing electricity from solar and wind, you're making out like a bandit at those times when the price of gas is high, because you're being paid the same price they are, but yours is way cheaper. So you just make shitloads more money, which is why Rachel Reeves is also talking about increasing the windfall tax on older renewables. That will be a token thing, though. That won't save anywhere near enough. What we need is to, as you say, decouple the price. And it won't like halve bills or anything, just to point out. But but we don't know yet how she's going to do it. She may not even all we know at the moment is Ed Miliband was obviously always keen on this. Labour were always going to do it at some point, but Reeves, the Treasury, is now fully seized of the need to do it sooner rather than later. Now, there's various ways of doing it. Greenpeace's suggestion is that you assign gas power stations as a national strategic resource, so they officially become backup, and therefore, although you will still compensate them for when they're needed, they don't feed into the general price of the electricity.
Yeah.
So that's their idea, but there are several. There are several possibilities. That's Greenpeace have been pushing that idea.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good idea.
But there are other options, but that's because
we still will need gas in the future. And this is the annoying thing about the people who are like, oh no, we need to keep drilling for oil. We're not saying we're going to stop it. We're not going to turn a big switch off and that's it. No more petrol, no more gas for your cooker. Do you know what I mean? Like that's not. But they seem to think that if we go down that route, that's the way it's going to be. And this is to do with gas that is being used to make electricity, which is separate to the gas that you pay for to get your boiler or to get your cooker working.
Yes.
It's a separate thing, not, separate thing.
Yeah.
And that's why gas prices are a lot lower now, ironically, than electricity. But what's pushing up the electricity bill is your gas price and the market. But so I'm really hoping, and I've said this a few times about the Iran conflict that Trump has started for no good reason other than to enrich his disgusting, horrible mates. The silver lining is it is not just in the UK but around the world is pushing governments towards greener options because we're sick of being on this fucking roller coaster. This is twice in the last 5 years that the price of oil has gone bananas and price of gas has gone bananas, and it's both times because of some megalomaniac sitting in a palace stateroom surrounded by gold tat going, oh, I'm going to invade this place.
Well, I mean, specifically, it's caused by a petrochemical state going to war, whether it's the invadee or the invader, it doesn't matter. Petrochemical state goes to war and straight away your prices go up.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's always going to be wars with these states because it's a critical resource. Wars are fought mostly over resources at the end of the day. So critical resources are going to attract war.
Yeah.
So should we not have them?
Yeah.
Should we not have critical resources? Should we have diversified resources instead?
Yeah. Yeah. But I was looking at the amount of oil that is in the North Sea. And it's something like 7% of what was there, in the 1970s.
Oh, yeah. It's mostly been tapped.
It's gone.
It's gone.
And it's really hard to get to. So even if we could, put up a drill to get down there, you're not going to get much out of
No.
it. It's going to be really difficult. It's just not
The mad
worth
thing
it.
is, although obviously the oil and gas companies would like a freer hand with the licenses, they're basically also saying, but you'd basically have to pay us, you'd have to subsidize us to use them, because it's going to costs them more now to even find the deposits. And as you say, the deposits are smaller. So, you know, there's installation costs, and then there's the decommissioning costs at the end of it.
Yeah.
And those have to be spread over how much money you'll make over the lifetime of the project. If it's a smaller deposit, not as much. So you need to charge more for it. So it's like oil and gas companies are saying, oh yeah, you should give us more licenses, but we also want some public money to use them.
Yeah.
Because it's now more, because there's hardly anything in there anymore. Yeah. And we don't, you know, to the point where we don't get that much gas from the North Sea, even on the international rates. We get it from Norway.
Yeah. Well, last week, on the 11th of April, the Daily Mail ran with the headline, "We're sitting on a gold mine!" exclamation mark.
Try burning gold. You get on with that.
North Sea oil hits record high. So why won't Red Ed drop his net zero madness and back new drilling to give Britain a boost?
See, that makes no sense on any level. First of all, if it's at record levels, then that's record levels is under Red Ed. So like what they complain about. But second of all, it is an absolute nonsense. Because
we are sitting on a gold mine, says the Daily Mail to its smooth-brained readers.
From their offshore,
educationally challenged, intellectually challenged readers. They've said there's loads of money and we're just not taking it. And then to sit down and explain the situation to people is so frustrating, because it's going to take 10 years as well. Like, never mind if it was a gold mine. It's not like you could just drill blast some dynamite out of the cliff and you get there's gold there.
Like, what do we get out of it? We get some jobs, but we've already got those jobs. We're not getting more jobs out of it.
Yeah. And the dangerous fucking jobs as well. This is another thing. It's like, have you noticed how gung-ho certain people are to put other people into place to do terrible jobs?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of roughnecks who absolutely love being out on an oil rig in the middle of winter in the North Sea, where you could die at any moment because there's a million ways to die on an oil rig. And not their kids,
mostly by falling off it. But
it's not their nepo babies.
And this is the mad thing, you know, even with unions, it's because we're not getting rid of the job. Like, the jobs are there for decades, but even when we're transitioning them to the green job, which are better jobs, they'll pay the same and they're better jobs, and they don't have to like sit on the middle of a thing in a sea where if you fell into it, you'd die of hypothermia in a second.
We don't have to deal with the same amount of volatility in the system. No. And obviously you're going to have redundancy baked into it for days when... But they're talking this summer, because the grid isn't up to scratch yet for energy distribution around the country, they're going to actually not be charging us to use electricity. They're going to be paying us to use electricity at certain times of the day. That's delicious. I love that.
In Australia, they're going to start this summer. Every day, everyone gets 3 hours of free electricity, because the reason is, you know, like in the early hour, like round about now-ish, this is when solar's really powering up, and it's literally, it's making too much. Yeah. Making too much energy. So Australia just taking the view, just persuade, if you make it free, then people will queue up their washing machines at that time and stuff like that, right? And the energy intensive stuff that you can do your washing at that time. So then, and that'd be brilliant, because that's a huge... For anyone who knows about, like, you know, who's in charge of the electric bill at home, you will know, using a washing machine or something like that, that's a big chunk of it.
Yeah. Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. The mad thing is, we have onshore oil fields. One of them is quite close to where Phil lives.
We do, yeah.
You have an onshore. But
again, we're not sat on loads of oil. Like, you know, even if we were to double production, which we can't because there ain't that much left, it would make no difference to the international price of oil. Yeah. We're tiny.
I want to push back on something.
We buy oil from America.
I want to push back on something that Liam said in the chat, saying about Ed Miliband because he couldn't eat a sandwich the right way. That's not the reason they lost.
That's not the reason.
Because what they want to do when we say that, and I know it's a joke, and I'm not having a go, I'm just saying, they say that to put the blame on us, right? when the reality was there were disgusting sadists who loved the idea of austerity because they weren't suffering from it, but they saw other people suffering and they get off on that. And also all the billionaires and the Russians who quite wanted us to have a referendum, which tended to the fraud referendum, to leave the EU. That's what the panicking David Cameron offered us in 2015. And all of the money went into that. And whatever the billionaires want, billionaires get, until it gets to a point where we realize that the people representing these billionaires can't govern for shit. And then finally, the dam breaks and we have a landslide election like we had for Labour in 2024, or Orban's lot in Hungary last week, getting absolutely yeeted out of office from a fucking cannon, shot into the sun. And now it's only been a week and a half since he won. Since Peter Mandelson won. Not even a week. Not even a week and a half. It's been a week. And I've seen so many clips of him just doing all this stuff and saying, right, he met up with the president and said, you're out of a job. He went on the national TV station and went, you're all out of jobs. We're like cleaning the decks. We're getting rid of the urbanization of Hungary. And they've given the go-ahead for the funding, the loan, the 90 billion euro loan that's supposed to be going to Ukraine, which is being held up by Hungary. Even though Peter Mandelson is not a huge fan of Ukraine.
You got to remember, he's the same party. He came from the same party.
Yeah. But he's not as evil. This is the thing.
But also he's more pragmatic as well.
Yeah. There's degrees.
And also, I strongly suspect he don't trust Russia. I can't understand how any Hungarian political leader trusts Russia.
But, these right-wing knobheads who go on about culture war shit and all that, they do really well. Until the economy takes a knock and it's their fault. And everyone's like, what? Where's all our money gone? Oh, I gave it to me cronies. Like Trump's giving it to his cronies. Putin gave it to his cronies. Orban's giving it to his cronies. And something that I pointed out this morning, our friend Sam Bright has set up a thing talking of con artists, Nigel Farage's income. So if you've not seen this, I'm going to put a link into the chat. Basically, it's just simply totting up who funds Nigel Farage.
That's only what he's registered. He doesn't have to register everything as well. He gets income that he doesn't have to. I think you should have to register every penny of income from whatever source.
Yeah. What's the rules then on?
I'm not sure. They're quite opaque, but you don't have to register everything. I remember some years ago, Jacob Rees-Mogg was being quizzed by Channel 4, and they were talking about like all the money he was making off like his various investments and stuff like that weren't a matter of public record. And they were saying, oh, we've heard this and you heard that. And he just said to them, oh, that's fascinating. Are you going to tell us about him? No, don't have to.
Yeah. But he's got money coming in.
And he's also been caught. How many times has he been caught with stuff he did have to declare, not declaring it? Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. It's at least 17. I'm not kidding. There's at least 17 times when there was stuff. I mean, I would be fair and say he was a brand new MP in 2024. I'm perfectly prepared to believe that the system. No, I want to be fair to everyone. I'm perfectly prepared to believe that the system is probably not well designed. Like, I'm not good with forms. I hate forms. So the first few times it got missed off, do you know what? Although I've got I wouldn't trust him as far as I can. Actually, I don't say trust him as far as I can throw him, because I used to do judo. I could probably throw him quite far. But, I'm not prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I have to. If I'm going to do it for one MP, I have to do it for another. So when you're new, you expect the odd inadvertent slip, but it's like, it's getting silly now. He's just doing it all the time. And then when he gets caught, oh, sorry, it's my person who does like whatever, the accountant, PR person, whoever does the paperwork for him, he just blames them. And say, at this point, shouldn't you be sacking them? They're shit. They can't even fill a form in. There's some proper thick as mince MPs in Parliament that can manage it. They might make a mistake when they're first starting, but they then manage it. Nadine Dorries managed it, for Christ's sake. Are you saying that the person who's filling this form is thicker than Nadine Dorries? Then sack him.
Yeah, but I mean, you just said you want to give him a fair.
So the first time,
I think this is a problem on the left. I honestly do. I think we give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and we need to stop it. We need to stop giving crooks
people one chance,
like Farage, who's a crook who had his wife and his mistress on the EU gravy train when he was railing against back in the early 2010s. He had his wife and his mistress working for him. and we were paying that out of our taxes. Yeah. The guy's been a crook since day one. He went into politics to make money. That is it, and he's made a shitload of money. And his biggest political headache of his life wasn't the Brexit that he made us all poorer with. It was actually not being able to have a Coutts bank account. Yeah. Nationwide campaign, Phil. So no, don't give him the benefit of the doubt.
Which he stopped.
Nail him to the fucking wall when he got the chance. But Biden gave Trump the benefit of the doubt. Look where we are now. He should have gone at him 100%.
He didn't give him the benefit. No, he didn't give him the benefit of the doubt. He didn't want to be accused of the political witch hunt. But it's like bollocks. You should have banged him up.
You should have made him dig a hole. Get in the hole. Left him in the hole. That's what I would have fucking done.
That.
Yes, he can. As the Supreme Court, knowing that Trump was about to win the election, said, "Oh yeah, the president can do whatever he likes, as long as it's an official duty." It's my official duty to dispose of this horrible orange creep who's going to, ruin the lives of millions, if not billions, of people around the world.
To be fair, he wouldn't have actually been able to get into the hole because he'd have had a heart attack digging the bastard.
Exactly. Well, then, kill two birds with one stone. But yeah, we do this all the time. They never give us the benefit of the doubt. We one step wrong on the left, and it is all over the front page.
But if you're not
one thing filled out incorrectly on a file that someone else should have been putting in, like Rachel Reeves's flat,
there's a point at which I am going to be talking about the Richard Tice hypocrisy on my channel later today, but there comes a point where you have to say, if you're not going to represent a better standard of humanity, then it doesn't actually matter who is in power, does it? So you have to at least believe you represent the better standard of humanity. So you have to be fair.
I'll tell you what.
But 17 times is not, at that point, it's like they've lost the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. But in the same way that people were very, very, very prepared to give Corbyn the benefit of the doubt, who, supporters of him, who would not give Starmer an inch. So it's not like Starmer's lost loads of support in the last month or so over this. He's lost hardly any support, because if people were going to leave Starmer, if people were going to start a hate campaign again, they would have started that a year and a half ago, when they first won the election, or even before then, if they didn't like him because he replaced the guy that they wanted to run for maybe, a third general election to lose. I don't know. How many chances do you give a guy before you say no? If it's our Miliband, you get one chance.
Yeah. I don't think he wanted to carry on, to be fair. I think he actually did just resign.
Neil
Kinnock he had 2 cracks. It's not like Labour never give you another crack. They gave Kinnock 2 cracks at it.
But Michael Foot only got 1.
Yeah, that was probably 1 more than he should have got.
What Aggie Pagan agrees with you there. We're supposed to be better than those we oppose, Graham. Yes, we are supposed to be. But you know what? You guys, you can be better than them. Yeah, I won't. I'll just get in the gutter and kick them. All right, and you can just pretend you had no knowledge of what I was up to. All right, just deny everything. Like, in those movies where they have the people who do the things, the covert ops, and they say, plausible deniability. That's what you want. We didn't know what Graham was doing. He was just, he was just flailing around in the gutter. I don't know what
while he was saying on a live broadcast that he wanted Donald Trump to dig his own grave.
I didn't say grave. I said hole. He needs to dig a hole. Could be for anything. Could have been to find water in the desert. I don't know, but it should be in a desert.
So now he's got to dig his own grave in the desert.
Yes. With a spoon. With a teaspoon. Anyway. Yeah. So anyway, moving on. But we're supposed to be talking about British news. But no, I was going to say about Hungary, right? This should be a bit of a warning to all the autocrats out there who are busy changing the constitution and changing the way things are done in order to give themselves more power. Because when the other team get in, they're going to use those powers against you.
But it will be a lesson learned, I think, if there are consequences. Being sacked into a consequence. If someone ends up in prison. Like Bolsonaro's technically in prison, but I'm not convinced that rattled the far right around the world. I think the thing that might with Orban is because he was the one who wrote the playbook for the rest of them.
Yeah.
Like Project 2025 was basically like Orban did it 10 years earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. But then the other side can use those same things to screw you over. Who's asking about Kinnock? Yeah, 87 and 92. He was the leader of Labour. Before then it was Michael Foot in 83, and before then it was Callaghan. James Callaghan,
who replaced Wilson.
Yes.
It wasn't necessarily terrible, but it was, mistakes were made.
Yeah. Labour keep doing this. Have you noticed?
See, at the moment, so it's actually really difficult, though. We're not in normal time. So anyone would struggle at the moment. They just shouldn't be struggling this badly, because just in general, the world is just, the Western world at any rate, is just increasingly sick of the fact that wealth has just not so much trickled upwards as flooded upwards. So people know, I mean, ever since the banking crisis, people have like you've got to think about why people have lost their patience. So the banking crisis, and Labour were saying we're fixing it, and they were fixing it, but because they lost power before it was shown, it was like they didn't get the credit for it. Then they had people lost their jobs, and then you had austerity, and it's like, Jesus Christ. And then we had the Brexit years where it was also austerity, but people going, oh, it's because the government are taking their eye off the ball. That's why our life is shit. No, it's because they're just using it as an excuse. Then we had Brexit itself. And then we had the war in Ukraine, and it's just like, so people have been used to politicians saying, oh, we're nearly there, green shoots of recovery. And they're sick of it. They've had nearly 20 years of it.
Yeah.
They've had nearly 20 years of things getting worse and being told, but we are fixing it. And there comes a point where the public don't distinguish between different governments. They just say, you're talking shit.
Yeah.
And that's the problem Labour have. They've inherited this lack of patience from the public. But what is their own fault is they're shit at talking to the public.
Yeah, but talking about Peter Magyar in Hungary, he has hit the ground running, and that's what Labour should have done.
But they did. Not to that extent, admittedly. There was more they could have done. But they actually went up in the polls literally in the first few weeks.
Yes.
Because they were doing lots of stuff. They cancelled the summer reading.
And then they went on fucking holiday.
But they cut it back, and they were making all these appointments, and they were talking about all this stuff, and it was all positivity. Then we had the riots, not their fault. Then they came back and went, oh, do you know what? The economy's frigged. It's even more frigged than we thought. And the winter fuel policy had been announced at this point as well. And it was all then doom and gloom. Oh, because what it sounds like, if you come out and you start talking about how shit the economy is, it's even shitter than we thought. All the public here is, you're making excuses for why you're not going to make things better for us. Then you tie that with the winter fuel allowance thing, where you've actually made it worse for some people. And inevitably, people start to get the idea you're not actually going to make things better. And they've allowed that to fester. Yes. And Labour at the time, I know this from off-the-record briefings from people inside the Labour camp, their attitude was that we're doing all the unpopular stuff now so that after a year or so, it'll all be clean sailing. So once we're into the election, it's just wall-to-wall positivity again, and it will be brilliant. And it's like, okay, some of them might still think that. It's like, ain't happening, mate. I mean, look what's happened. You've got the first tranche of the Employment Rights Act is now in law. Workers have got more rights now. Renters have got more rights now. The Best Start centres are starting to open. The new Best Start centres are opening. People are actually noticing. They're noticing that the NHS is getting better. The latest NHS approval ratings, as decided by the public, is the highest it's been this decade. So the public are even noticing improvements in the NHS, and yet they're fourth in the polls.
Yeah.
So none of it's working.
No.
People are not. There's no link between the stuff that Labour are doing and public approval, and there's any number of possible reasons for that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's because the public have decided that Labour are not a good deal for them. And they need to change that. And at the moment, nothing they are doing is going to change it.
Yeah.
I can talk till the cows come out about all of this stuff that's going to make things better for us. And some of which Reform UK will not be able to dismantle very easily. Some of which they will very easily. Your workers' rights will definitely be gone within a year.
Yeah. And our human rights, mate.
And Nuri, they did not support a genocide in Gaza. Don't talk shit, mate. They have opposed it from the start. Other people said they did. It's like the Iran war. Are we going to join America in attacking Iran? No, we're not. But that doesn't suit them. So they just claim that we do anyway. These same outlets just claim that we are doing on the sly. It's all bollocks.
David Peacock saying you forgot about the pre-planned Farage riots. Well, Phil mentioned that. But yeah, the Farage riots, that's another thing, giving Farage the benefit of the doubt. He tweeted that the person, the perpetrator who committed that horrific crime in Southport, he tweeted that it was an asylum seeker.
Yeah.
And then when asked about it, he said he was repeating what he had heard from Andrew Taint, who was a guy who's wanted for multiple crimes in multiple countries, all involving the exploitation of women and the abuse of women.
Sorry, I'm just going to go through this again. Nuri saying Israel has that right. Yeah, they had the right to recover the people who were kidnapped. Every country has the right to protect their citizens. That's what he said. Other people claimed he said they have the right to attack water and electricity. He never said that. At no point. What happened was the guy was saying about Israel going in to get their people back. Do they have the right? And he said, yeah. And then the interviewer bundled in talking about attacking electricity and water, which, yes, Starmer should have been wiser to it and gone, hang on a minute. Let's just be clear. They have the right to go in and get their hostages back, not to hit water, which he did later, but he should have done it at the time. But that he didn't say they had the right to do that. Again, this is all just fucking bollocks. You can't accept the fact that we have a government in place that's opposed to the hard left. That conducts itself with
not having the Tories in charge anymore. But no, ending the two-child cap until they were shamed into it. I'm pretty sure that was in the manifesto, wasn't it? In the manifesto.
What's that? No, it wasn't.
Getting rid of the two-child
they
cap.
said no, it was never in the manifesto.
Oh.
They said that it was their intention to do it when the economic conditions allowed. So there was an intention to do it, but they didn't expect to do it, and they did say it won't happen in the first budget. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't think they would have intended to do it in the second either, were it not for having lost a lot of the trust, never mind of the public, but Labour MPs.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, no, it was never a manifesto commitment because they didn't have a timeline for it.
Well, I mean, it was something that they lost a lot of MPs, didn't they? Well, they suspended a bunch of MPs, most of them are now back in the fold.
Well, they suspended MPs because they voted against their own election promise. The Labour campaigned on a very clear statement that they would not remove the two-child cap early. And then some Labour MPs decided to vote with opposition parties to do just that. So they were voting, and it's all right, those MPs saying, oh, but I didn't campaign for that. Yes, you did. If you're going to campaign under your party's banner, you are campaigning for every policy that party has. If you don't like it, leave the party.
Well, they did leave the party. Well, some of them left the party.
Some have, yeah.
Some left the party after getting, the party to pay for them to get their job, the £90,000 a year job.
Exactly.
Thanks for helping us get that job, and then kick the ladder away.
And then buggering off.
But yeah, the other thing was the trans people being thrown to the walls, which I can't really argue against.
No,
I mean,
that's
Labour could absolutely do something immediately to alleviate the pressure on trans people that has been put on there by the oil companies and by evil billionaires like J.K. Rowling. And one of the things we talked about is revisiting the Equalities Act and just cleaning up the language on it. It would require, they could probably do that with a statutory instrument. They wouldn't even need a parliamentary debate on it. They could just say, this is what we mean by a woman. It is a cisgender woman or a trans woman with a gender recognition certificate, let's say.
Yeah.
And then make it easier to get a gender recognition certificate.
Well, that is in their manifesto. That is in the manifesto.
What, to look at the Equalities Act?
No, to make it easier to get your gender recognition certificate. I forget the exact wording now. I have to look it up.
Yeah,
but that is in the manifesto. So the manifesto, as far as it mentions trans at all, is improving things for trans people.
Oh, well, they've broken that promise, haven't they?
They haven't broken it yet because they only have to do it before.
Ask any trans people watching this, and they will tell you that their life has not improved under Labour.
No, it hasn't improved. But the manifesto didn't say it would improve. What I'm saying is the only thing that mentioned trans in the manifesto was an improvement. They haven't broken it until we get to the election and they still haven't done it. I would still hope they will do it. We don't know.
They've gone down and then they're going to go up again. Okay.
Well,
yeah.
But it is in there. It is a manifesto promise, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let me have a look. Hold on.
Well, we should hold them to that then. Let's get in touch with our MPs. Everyone watching this, go and get in touch with your MPs. So you promised to make things better for trans people, and here's how you demonstrably have not done that.
So here we go. This one I think is still so-called conversion therapy is abuse. There is no other word for it. So Labour will finally deliver a full trans-inclusive ban on conversion practices, while protecting the freedom for people to explore their. Hang on, there's something weird happening now. Can't read that. What is happening? Oh, there it is. Freedom for people to explore their sexual orientation and gender identity. We will also modernise, simplify and reform the intrusive and outdated gender recognition law to a new process. We will remove indignities for trans people who deserve recognition and acceptance. Okay,
they'll remove indignities. Oh my God.
You could argue that
they've done exactly the absolute motherfucking opposite of that. Anyway, Miss Paula Thomas has got a clarification here, saying, thank you very much for the super chat, Paula. Phil, the interviewer asked about the right to cut off water and electricity before Starmer said they had the right.
No, but they said it as he was saying it. What they were asking, if you watch the full thing, not the edited version, he was asking about the hostage, Israel just going in to get the hostages. Then, as Starmer was talking, he put that in. I'm not going to. Starmer's shit at interviews.
He is
I've
very
said that
shit
for
at
years,
interviews.
right?
But it also took him a while to row that back. It was like 2 days later before he actually went, "Oh yeah, I shouldn't have said that." He should have said that straight away in the interview.
He should have done. But the point is, what does it matter? What he meant or what you think he said? Because he made it clear. He made Labour's position crystal clear afterwards. You're not interested in that. What matters? What was the policy? That's what matters, isn't it? The policy was that Israel have the right to get their people back. They did not have the right to take out things that are vital. They didn't have. I know, but that's because people aren't interested in what the policy was. They're only interested in tribalism.
Well, it's not just tribalism. It's just what sticks in people's heads. And they go, remember that time when he said that they should cut off the oil? Because he never did. The oil and water, the water and electricity.
He never said it.
Yeah, I agree that he is shit at interviews, but it came across that way. And when they clipped it up,
it took him
a bit too long for him to say, "Oh, that's not what I meant."
It did take him too long.
I mean, this is the thing. He's a shit politician. He's a clever man, and I'm sure he's a great lawyer. But then again, if he was saying stuff like that in court, it's a bit Blackadder, isn't it? Where he goes, "My client is guilty," and then turns over the paper
of nothing more.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, it's like
we do at least know he was a very good lawyer and an absolutely terrible politician. But again, you're hanging someone for being a bad politician.
Paul is telling you to rewatch the interview. I think we should watch the interview
I've watched
live
it many
on the show.
times. I did stuff at the time.
Okay, all right. Anyway, Paula's shouting at you. She's all caps now. And also Nick Ferrari was the interviewer, so that tells you a lot of the sort of questioning that he would be asking.
I replayed it multiple times because I covered it because I was sick of people pointing out bollocks. The fact of the matter is, Keir Starmer said they did not have the right to cut off the electricity and the water. The fact that he did it after the interview, because it didn't occur to him just to make it bloody clear at the time, is because he, again, for whatever's going on in his head, that made him think, well, I've said the right thing, and he didn't realise that people would misinterpret it. It was misinterpreted. At no point did he say it was fine to cut off the electricity and water. He's a human rights lawyer, for goodness sake.
Phil is the voice of reason. There you go. You got some support there from David. Sammy is making a good point. Most trans people will vote Greens or Lib Dem or Plaid, as we cannot possibly trust Labour anymore. And you're absolutely right, Sammy. Like this is we've spoken about this. Being transphobic doesn't win you any votes. It just loses you votes. All the transphobes have already gone over to bloody refuck or whoever, the biggest.
Well, they're not even the transphobes are not voting on trans issues. There's maybe like six batshit mad women who might.
No, 4 women in Scotland. It's 4 as in the number.
Oh yeah. There's But yeah, no, it's absolutely the case. People, whether they're pro-trans, if they're pro-trans, they might vote on trans issues. If they're anti-trans, they won't because it's not a top issue for them. because like you think about asylum and immigration, people think that is having a negative effect on their lives. No one really thinks that of trans people, because they're you know, the way that the media get people to think about that about asylum seekers is not just by only posting negative stories about asylum seekers, but trying to give the impression that they're like everywhere. They're everywhere. They're living next door to you, and they're living next door to you on the other side as well, and they're living across the road from you and everywhere. And that's how they do it. They massively inflate not just the problems, but the scale of the problem. And they're not doing that with trans. They're posting negative story about trans issues, but they're not trying to claim that you've got like trans perverts living next door to you. So people don't consider it a top issue. So it is mental.
Yeah. But, you know, the drag queens reading stories to children, that's the most important thing. It is just infuriating, isn't it? That, like, this cultural bullshit that the right cook up, and the oil companies help pay for this, you know?
Yes, they have.
So we keep arguing amongst ourselves when we need to be working on the big issues at the time. And the biggest issue right now is climate change. Yeah, there's nothing else. No, if it wasn't for these fucking wars going on around the world, there'd be no need for any famine anywhere in the world, because it's all interconnected. And if you can't get your rice from your own paddy fields, you can get them from next door.
There's going to be a similar one. There's going to be a lot coming from this Iran war because, of course, a lot of fertilizer comes from Qatar. Now, British farmers have been saying that I remember one British farmer saying their costs have gone up by 7%, and saying this is a terrible thing, and it is. But the reason it's gone up by 7% is because they've had to pay more to get diminished resources, which means that poorer farmers in poorer countries haven't been able to get any at all. And it's growing season. So that means that the world is going to produce less food. And that, of course, means that people in the poorer country, we're going to pay more for our food. But remember, when we're talking about paying more for our food, that's because we're going to bid more than poorer countries can afford to bid for food. And there's people in poorer countries there's going to potentially be famines as a result of this.
Yeah. And of Trump's fucking grift. Yeah. He's already made billions being president, but, you know, he needs to make more. Grim Fang says, I'm torn between voting for Green and Labour. Labour's doing better than people think on the economy and infrastructure, but their social policy, comms failure, etc., needs to be punished. And I would just say, like, I think Labour do need a kicking, because they haven't been making anybody happy. People who don't vote Labour, people who do vote Labour, they've gone around like the guy from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy who insults everyone in the universe in alphabetical order. They seem to just be going around pissing everybody off. Whatever the problem is, though,
you just have to understand the electoral reality. I mean, this is why, again, if we had PR, it would be we might actually see group like at the moment. You look at the Green Party. What do they spend most of the time doing? Bashing Labour. You look at Labour. I mean, they have to bash everyone, I suppose. And it's like, but there would be no strategic need for that if we had PR. But what I would say is this: the reality is, whoever's leading it at the time, the next election is a race between Reform UK and Labour. And if you trip Labour up because you're not happy with them, you're letting Reform UK win the race. I'm not saying because of that you must vote Labour. I don't ever tell people how to vote. What I'm just saying is, look at your constituency. Like, I could conceivably be in a constituency where I would vote Green quite happily, or I'll vote Lib Dem quite happily, right? Even though I'm a Labour supporter. Because I've voted Conservative in the last year, and I'll do it again to stop the worst option. But we have a system at the moment that where you have to be really very clear. You don't have a choice of 6 or 7 parties. No one has a choice of 6 or 7 parties. You've got a choice probably of 2, maybe 3. And you need to really be very clear, because if Reform UK win the next election, the workers' rights are gone. The renters' rights are gone. The Equalities Act is gone. I don't think it will necessarily be as easy as Farage claims, to be deporting 200,000 asylum seekers, but he will just blame judges for that one. And then our independent judiciary could be gone.
Yeah.
Now, they may not be competent to do that. There is an element of competence. Some of these things are difficult, but they will try. They won't be able to just cancel all the gains we'll have made on renewable energy, but they will be able to do what the Tories did in 2010 and further block it and put Russian fossil fuel producers in charge, because Richard Tyson said he wants to do that. He met with a Russian oligarch last year, went on holiday with them and said, you should be running our energy industry, an actual Russian oligarch. So that will happen. We will have a Putin shill in number 10. All of that stuff is guaranteed. There's some stuff where they will try to do terrible things. They may or may not be able to, but the Equalities Act is easy. Just repeal it.
I'm just going to go and answer the door. I'll be back in a moment. I'm just going to.
The Employment Rights Act is easy. You just repeal it. Any legislation is easy to repeal. It's not always easy to change, and it's not always easy to create new legislation, but it is very easy to repeal. You just repeal it. You just say, we're getting rid of it all. And if someone in the House of Lords says, we think you should replace it with something, and you say, bollocks, should we? Then they can block it, sure, but all you then have to do is wait until the next session of Parliament, and then you just ram it through with the Parliament Act, and it's done. So the House of Lords might be able to delay some things. They won't be able to stop it. If all you want to do is repeal legislation. So Reform UK will have a completely free hand on their budgets and repealing legislation, because that's not difficult. There's no skill required. Some of the things they want to do, like deporting 200,000 asylum seekers, they will run in trouble with the courts, so they won't necessarily be able to, but they can still make life very difficult for those asylum seekers or refugees. Actually, some of them aren't asylum seekers. They're just official refugees. They can still make life very difficult. They can literally put them in concentration camps, and they'll have battles with the courts, and then they'll just move them to a different concentration camp. So, we've complied with the court order. We've moved them out of that camp and just moved them to another.
It's I'm not saying that I want refuck to come in to be to punish Labour. I'm saying, would be the result.
But that's the consequence.
That's the consequence. Instead of getting only 30 or 40% of the things you want, you'll get 0%. In fact, things as you see in America will get demonstrably worse.
Right. And people who voted for Trump, or just stayed at home,
because they couldn't Kamala Harris. For either of them.
And think about some of the issues for which some of them might be reasonable, okay? But, the ones who wouldn't vote for Kamala Harris because of Gaza, how's that worked out? The ones who stayed at home, because of the cost of living.
But at the same time, Labour do need to do better.
They do need to do better.
So if they're going to get a kicking, I'd rather they get a kicking in the locals, so that like to bloody firework under the house to actually getting stuff.
It won't
sorted.
It won't do that. It won't do that. And I'll tell you, we know it won't do that because it didn't do it last year, and it won't do it this year. And the reason is because they'll just say to themselves, these are local elections, people, and we do, and it's true.
Well, you can go back. It's not just local elections, because it's Wales and Scotland as well.
But
they're going to lose a lot of ground, and they could lose.
The same thing.
It's very, very, very likely to lose ground in Scotland, but also to lose the government of Wales.
They are the incumbents in Wales, and the Welsh leadership since Drakeford stepped down has not actually helped themselves. Yes, there's a big Starmer impact on that as well. But again, they will still see it as the same. They'll see it as a protest vote. A protest vote isn't replicating a general election. We know that. We've got over 50 years of local election results that say that the party in power in Westminster loses. There's in literally over half a century, 1 year where the party of government didn't actually lose seats net in a local election. It always happens. So that's what they'll say. They will not take local election results as any reflection. They'll take the voting intention polls as a reflection. They're in 4th place. That's what they'll take into account. So anyone thinking that giving Labour a kick in these local elections will change anything, you're deluding yourself. It'll change nothing.
Can I just clarify as well to Miss Elby? I don't think Phil's saying that trans issues don't matter, or that we're not concerned. Obviously, we are. We're saying that transphobes don't vote
for it. It's not an issue for them. It's not a voting issue for them. If you think about people going to a ballot box, they're not trans
people and trans allies will obviously not
They
vote
will,
for a
'cause it
party that's
affects their life.
making their
Well,
their lives and their friends' lives.
If you think about, I could give you a list of 100 policy areas and give you some options in every single one of them, and some of them you might say don't know, but a lot of them you will have an opinion on it, right? But you're not thinking of 100 policies when you go into a polling station. You're thinking of 1, 2, maybe 3 at most.
Yeah.
And that's the same for everyone. Now, someone who is trans or very close to someone who's trans, maybe trans issues are in that top 3. But for someone who's anti-trans, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
So pandering to the transphobes is a stupid way of running any kind of political outfit in this country.
It's unstrategic.
Yeah. And it just loses your votes. That was my point. Being seen as a transphobic organisation, whether it's the Labour Party or whatever, it's not going to win you votes. It's only going to lose your votes, and that's what Labour decided to do. They decided to nail their mast nail the colours to that particular mast.
And the problem is, because it's not, you lump it in with lots of other social policies on, particularly around immigration as well, and the problem is, from Labour's point of view, they think they're copying like Denmark but if we meet people halfway on this, then we stop the worst, the far right winning. The problem is, and there will be some areas where you have to do something. Like Labour have to look like they're doing something on welfare, and they have to look like they're doing something on immigration. But where it doesn't work with trans issues, and it doesn't work with some of their stuff on asylum issues, is if you get it wrong and you let the far right in anyway, all you've actually done is some of the groundwork for them.
Yeah. You've helped shift the Overton window their way. They haven't brought it over to your way.
Even the Overton window, just policy. You've actually physically put things in place to make it easier for them to move it further.
But I think Labour have made the same fucking mistake that they made with Brexit, where there was literally hundreds of thousands of people who were willing to get off their arse and protest in London, and they didn't want anything to do with it. And that was to do with Remainers wanted to stay in the EU. They were like, no, that's not our fight. Well, that's something else entirely. And they're making the same fucking mistake with trans people. And
I would say it's a different mistake, because back then the Labour leadership wanted us to leave the EU. They just didn't want to be blamed for it. Whereas now they think they're doing it strategically, but it amounts to the same thing. It's strategically inept.
Yes. It's politically stupid and it's morally abhorrent, and that's the infuriating thing about all this stuff. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be about trans rights, but whenever you find something that the right they go on about all the fucking time, nearly always it's morally bankrupt, but it makes no economic or political sense either to do that, because of the inevitable consequences. And then we all sit there going, well, we knew that was going to happen. We knew the right would get in, and then they'll expand on their hatred of trans people and make it all gay people and make it all women and make it all any minority. Trans people being the Trojan horse in this sorry situation. Yeah. But and it's quite interesting. I mean, we haven't got really time to talk about this because we have got a little bit over time. But we need to talk about the local elections probably next week. The fact that the refuck fuckers, and it's been pointed out in the chat, they're not talking about bin collection or anything like that. They're talking about getting rid of Starmer. They think that if you vote refuck, you'll get rid of Starmer.
Yeah.
Which is
that's what you do. The Greens will do the same thing. It's obvious. It's an obvious strategy to apply.
Yeah.
Everyone will be doing the same thing.
Very frustrating. Anyway,
why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you try and grub every vote you can?
Yeah. Well, listen, there's a very important motion going in tomorrow, and the 10-minute rule. And Melanie On of Labour, who's the representative for Great Grimsby and Cleethorpes, is bringing in a road surfaces maximum noise levels bill, which is mind-blowing. Because I've complained about the noise of traffic for a very long time. But the road surfaces, I think that we can leave that till last. Can we ban the fucking noisy bikes and cars, please?
I will just point out that in Grimsby, you're not familiar with Grimsby. I'm familiar with Grimsby. I will just say So when you go into Grimsby, I haven't been for a while actually, but when you go into Grimsby, so you're on the
Never been
M180.
to Grimsby.
Okay. I lived in Grimsby for over a decade. When you go into Grimsby and you're on the M180 and it's all fine. And then you go onto the A180 and it's not fine because it's got this concrete surface that's been there since the 70s and it sounds horrific. And you will see people at the side of the road and you think they're broken down. They haven't broken down, they just think they have because they're convinced there's something wrong with their car.
Yeah.
And it's obvious. So to be fair, in Grimsby, I can understand how it is a much more serious issue because honestly, they've got this road surface down, and it's a port town. There's a lot of lorries come up and down at the time. There's a lot of traffic, and it's got this concrete surface. It's been there since before I was born, I think. It's been there for decades anyway. It's been there ever since I learned to drive and went to Grimsby. So yeah, it might just be of one of those things where it's of heightened importance to certain people. Yeah. I agree, it's not the most important, but then MPs they bring up things that are locally important.
Yeah,
I'm not saying she's doing it just because of that road, by the way, but I can understand as soon as as soon as you say from Grimsby, then it's like I do get it.
Okay, but I would say if you're going to moan about noisy things, motorbikes particularly,
Nigel Farage.
but also cars with boy racers in, very special boys.
Can't she insist on a muffler on Nigel Farage?
Yeah, mufflers, please. Vacuum cleaners that are too fucking loud. Dyson, I'm looking at you. And hand dryers that sound like a fucking jet engine. Dyson, I'm looking at you. 10% of the population have got hearing loss problems, and one of the big factors of that is daily life is so fucking noisy and it's destroying our hearing.
What about that bastard over there who keeps getting the hedge trimmer out when I'm getting ready to record?
Let's bring in a law against that. Fantastic. Okay, we're being asked when Starmer's going to speak. We don't know. It's sometime after 2:30, so anytime from now, go on the BBC Parliament site.
It won't be right now because it's education questions first. It's after the education questions.
Okay,
so if you're interested in education questions, and I, as a former teacher, even I'm not mostly interested in
if you're interested, and literally no one is interested, but if you are,
but it will be after that. So if you tune into BBC Parliament and you think to yourself, there's a lot of people here for these questions on education, it's probably just people staking out a good seat ahead of Starmer's statement.
Yeah.
Shall I have a quick look before we finish? Shall we just, because it'll have started now, I'm just going to have a quick look just to see if it's absolutely deserted, or if there's more people in than I reckon should be. Oh, it's not. The coverage hasn't started yet. They're late.
Oh, yeah.
Why are they late?
I don't know.
Oh, it says 3:30.
The 3:30
Statement by the Prime Minister 3:30.
It's at 3:30. We just saw that at the exact same moment on the BBC.
An hour.
So you got an hour.
Education
questions. Go and make yourself a really nice cup of hot chocolate, and we'll reconvene it. Well, you can reconvene in an hour and watch what Starmer has to say. I might cover it here. I don't know. I might decide to. He's not going to be blabbering on for too long, is he?
Well, he's going to have to. The first thing he's going to have to do is broach the fact that he has actually misled Parliament inadvertently. So he's going to have to cover that one.
And correct the record.
Yes, he must correct the record.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Squeaky bum time. Okay. So
it's one of those things. People have already made up mind. Like what gets said, I'd be surprised. It's not impossible, but I would be surprised if anything gets said that's remarkable. Because people who have already made up their mind, people who are anti-Starmer are fine using this as an excuse to get rid of him. People who support him are going, hang on a minute, it was lied to, mate. People in between won't watch it at all.
There'll be questions afterwards, though, as well.
There will be questions.
So it's scheduled for 3:30 to 5 o'clock. So we've got an hour and a half.
So it's
I might run it. I might do it. I might do it as a watch party.
I don't think there'll be anything interesting. But anyway.
Well, have you got anything better to do? Go and watch me do me watch party. Oh, Phil has got better things to do. Yes, Graham, we've got a life. All right, mate. Well, listen, thanks for coming on Monday, our new home of the agenda, so we can help set the agenda for the week, or at least a comment on what the agenda is for the week. There will be Prime Minister's questions on Wednesday. And there's also going to be, hopefully, a statement made by Miliband this week about going forward faster on net zero, and maybe even, if we're very, very lucky, we'll find out what the government's planning for decoupling gas from the cost of the rest of energy. So watch this space. but don't hold your breath because you'll die. So thanks very much, Phil. Thanks very much for everyone for watching. Thanks for all the super chats and everything and the lively debate, which we always encourage on the show. And hopefully I'll see you at 9 o'clock tonight, or maybe at 4:30 if I decide to do a show. Hit the bell notification icon. Well, give us a like first, and if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. But if you are subscribed, please hit the bell notification icon, and you'll get a notification when we go live. And if not seeing you at 4:30, if not seeing you at 9 o'clock, I hope we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock for the next morning brew. And until then, all that's left to say is thank you to my wonderful co-host, Phil Moorhouse. You can find her at a different bias here on YouTube. And thanks to everyone in the chat. And until next time, hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.